Well, apparently it's 3 weeks later, and I never finished the update video from the past 3 weeks. So today, aka 3 weeks later, I'm gonna finish this update video because this is the last segment of the update video I'm gonna show you guys, and that is the whole HO scale roster I currently have. And yes, this is all my locomotives I have. They're all in order of when I got them, so they're not ordered by age, but they're ordered by when I got these engines. There's a lot of stuff I've kind of did to some of these engines. Some I'm not really successful, but some successful and some not. But and some improvements and updates on some of these engines. And then yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the roster. Oh, by the way, ever since I stopped working on the update video the past 3 weeks, I ended up doing some improvements. I actually replaced the road bed on this curve, and it is yet to be caulked down. As you can see here, I'm actually happy the way this turned out. I'm really proud of myself for redoing this, because this was probably this is just a mess. All right, I literally just wasted 2 pieces of cork. I just cut them in half and thinking that it would be better off for like tight radius curves, and these are only 22 radius, but it is what it is. And either way, I was able to use 2 full pieces, and it was a big success. Also, what I did here, I actually measured my couple of my pieces of flex track, and I cut them, and this is the results. This is actually part of the layout plan, so I'm happy how this turned out. This is not going to be this hasn't been glued down yet or caulked down yet. Obviously, this is not going to be because I'm going to have a full sheet of cork laying down right here because of these gaps, but that'll be for a later date. And by the way, the stuff that I use to glue this stuff down, it has yet to be sanded down. Which I got sandpaper at my dollar store. 36 sheets, pretty good. This is the glue I used to put down my foam board. Cork, and it's Elmer's wood glue max. Pretty sturdy and durable. I really like using that stuff. But yeah. Oh, and another thing is I got these little terminal wires at my hobby shop, K10s. And apparently they don't work with the Bachmann controller, because they would go in these tabs right here. And I put them on here on the track, and I put my one of my engines on it, and it just made like a huge whining noise, and all of a sudden just quit. And I got worried that the engine stopped working. It was fried up, but luckily it still worked. So I'm not getting these anymore. These are trash. But yeah. Anyways, let's continue. All right, so we're starting off with my first locomotive I ever got. Got this with the Bachmann Overland set back in 2004. This is a Bachmann Union Pacific 484, number 806, and we take the tender off. I'm going to talk about the tender first. It's nothing special about it. There's something loose in there. I don't know what it is. It's been like that for years. Obviously, it's plastic wheels. There are some slight details that are kind of falling off. I don't think there's anything that fell off this thing. But there has been some falling off the steam locomotive. It has regular Bachmann Easy 8 Mark 1 couplers, plastic. There's this, I don't know whatever this thing is, to be honest. I'm not good with parts, so I'm like both steam and diesel. That's just a tender, nothing special there. And now I'm going to get onto the locomotive. This guy, I haven't ran a lot really. I did test it. You saw it earlier in the video. It runs pretty decent forward, but it does not run well backwards. I don't know if it's because of how the traction rods, or whatever these things are called, the traction rods are shaped. I think this is kind of messed up a bit. They do move. The bogies, they're pretty much fine. There's like one of those things like on this, one of these bar things right here. I keep sent one to say drawbar, but I don't think that's what it is. But one of those things were on the front of this as well, or near the pilot, aka the snowplow, or as British people would call it, cow catchers. It also has a molded coupler on it, which is pretty useless. The lights still work in this engine. I tried actually trying to get into it because I wanted to clean it, but apparently the screws are they're a pain to get out, and I don't want to ruin the screws, so I might try it some other time. As you can tell, there's 2 wires that connected to the back bogies of the locomotive, and they've been stripped off. I can't really do nothing about that at the moment. They didn't really have any, I don't think they have any issues with this. I think what they did is they kept the bogie from moving freely. And that's a dog outside. Don't bother with that noise. So, obviously, this is moving freely. There's a spring on it, obviously. Check out the cab. Well, you probably can't see the cab, though. Let's get into some light, actually. Hold on just a second. Yeah, there we go. This has cab detail, but it's pretty plain. This is the thing to connect to the tender. Detail-wise, this piece right here actually fell off. I had to super glue it back on. It was pretty much tough to do. This engine is losing parts. There was like this horn type thing. I don't know what that is, but it fell off and I can't find it. It's long gone. I think it fell off right before I moved out of my dad's house. Also, another thing I want to point out, I tried running this with my Bachmann DCC command center. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I ran it under analog on the DCC command center, and I think the funnel kind of melted. I think because this engine is not really that, because it's not well under that type of power. I'm not sure how much power is under that command center. And also, I think this unit has a smoke unit in it. There's like a little pipe in there. I believe this engine has a smoke unit. I never put smoke fluid inside of it, so I don't know. Yeah, not much I can say about this engine. I'm going to keep this engine as DC, probably. I may put it up on a display for, like, if I have a station on my layout. I might leave it up as a display. There's nothing special I'm going to do with this locomotive. There's not much I want to do with it, to be honest. But yeah, second unit on my roster, which I got from as a Christmas present or a birthday present. I can't remember. This was like maybe between like 2004 and 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. Is oh, that's the cat running up the stairs. Is my Walther's CSX GP30M 4233. Now, if you're a long-time viewer of my channel, this locomotive has been in a lot of my videos, and even in the dreaded Thomas series that I did back in the day when I was part of the TTTE community, which I no longer am excuse me. But as you can tell, this sucker has been through a lot. You can tell it's had some love with it. It's lost basically all its side handrails. The back handrails, I believe, I don't think it was the back one. I think it was the front handrails that came off. I was able to put those back on. Obviously, the horn's broken. This thing had number boards on it, but they were like a paper, they were like basically paper number boards that came with the model. They're long gone. There's actually one left on there, but I think it had numbers on it. And I think they fell off. I don't know. This is a rough old Walther's engine. I think there was a piece of detail right here that's missing now. Sorry if there's a shadow. I'm trying to get in the. You can see right here, this little piece right here. I think there was something there. I don't know, there might have been an antenna or something, but I'm not really sure. Updates and adjustments I made on this engine. I actually tried clearing the holes down at the bottom from any like leftover pieces of handrail that were stuck in it. Some of them I couldn't get out because of the super glue. But this was in case I wanted to try to restore this and get put some new handrails on it. By the way, ignore the little glue spot right there. That was like that when my grandpa gave it to me. He tried gluing this sucker together and stuff. Underneath the shell is the motor. Throughout the time, one of the wires was only soldered. I can't remember which wire it was. I believe it was this wire right here. I ended up soldering this wire back together, which made it made it run a lot better. The motor still runs really well. I lubricated it and stuff, greased it. It runs really good. Only thing I do not like about this is the gearbox. The original gearbox was completely destroyed, so I just went ahead and replaced it. Obviously, this screw is not loose because this little metal board right here is not that useful. It's really not that good. It doesn't hold stuff in, really. The back one, however, is pretty sturdy, so I'm happy with the back one. The front one is not, and I really don't know what to do about that. Wheels, on the other hand, I don't know. I might have to replace them because they do spark on the rails. I don't know if you saw that in the video earlier in this video of the trains running around. But yeah, I'm going to keep this engine DC. I was wanting to restore it and make it a DCC engine, but I'm like, there's really no purpose of restoring this sucker. It's basically been through the good times and stuff, and there's no point. It's too worn out So I'm probably just going to keep it as a DC engine. But it does run better, I tell you that. Okay, next engine on my roster that I got for my as a birthday gift in 2015 is my Bachmann CSX SD40-2 number 8861. And I actually, in case you guys are interested, you should go check out the review I did, or not. I don't care what you do, to be honest, because it was kind of pretty beginner level. This was actually the first DCC engine I got. And I thank my dad for getting it for me as a birthday gift. And if you go to K10s and run trains there on Sundays, you may recognize this engine, because I do run this engine a lot on the layout, because I actually like SD40-2s. So, yeah, obviously I'm not going to go through detail, because I did that in my unboxing video of this, or my review video of it back in 2015. And nothing really has changed and stuff. It's getting worn, I think, a little bit because of having it running on the layout. Also, piece of the handrail is missing. That went missing after I went to the UPSF Joint Line Railroad in Flora, HO scale layout. I made a video on the New Year's running session, and that's when that piece got lost. I don't know what happened to it. Yeah, not much I'm going to say about this engine. It's a good DCC runner. I'm not going to put sound in it, but one thing I want to address is I took it to K10's one of the Thursdays. You can go any Thursday you want, because they allow you to run there for free. You can do whatever you want, besides the third Thursday of the month, which is an op session. One of my engines, I think it was actually Sunday, one of the previous Sundays I went to. I think it was this recent Sunday. I went to K10's on Sunday, and if you're there that day, you may remember seeing me. This is back in January, the first Sunday of the month. This engine was dragging. I believe it was this engine, or maybe it was the third. I can't remember, but one of the days, this engine was dragging. I figured it was dirty, so I had one of the guys at K10 help clean it up. And apparently, what he said was, when he's trying to clean it up, this front truck was not getting any power, and both of these trucks are supposed to be getting power. So I may have to take this engine apart and take a look, and maybe it might be a cut wire, or a loose wire, or something. Maybe it's not. It just needs to be cleaned. I don't know what the case is. Most likely, it's not getting any power, and it's supposed to. And then again, as SMT said, some of these more modern Bachmann engines. I don't think it's the pretty new ones, but like. I don't know how old this engine is, but I'm guessing maybe it's like early 20-teens. They usually have nylon gears, and those are not really that good. But who knows? I've never opened this engine up before, because I've actually had trouble opening up this engine. So yeah, we're gonna find out eventually. I'm gonna do that on my workbench apparently. So yeah, not much I can talk about this engine. So my HO scale roster is Bachmann BNSF. GP40-2R number 3001. This came with the Rail Chief set by Bachmann. I got it for my brother, actually, so he can run his train. Well, he doesn't have any trains, but like he wanted to run some of my trains, so I got him this set because he kind of likes being a set. This is the engine right here, obviously, and it's been through some wear. If you are a long-time viewer, you may remember me making an update video about my layout or my HO scale stuff, because I didn't have a layout at this point, not a layout like this, but it was just like a regular oval layout on the floor. Back in like 2015 or 2016, somewhere around time, I had a little test track layout up on a countertop in my dad's place, and this thing jumped the switch, and it fell off the counter. So the handrails didn't break. One of the bells on the horn broke, and then the front coupler that was originally on here broke. So I replaced it with a different one, which is pretty good. Easy Mate Mark IIs, I believe. Mark IIs with spring coils. Yeah, not much about. I'm not going to say much about this engine. It's a great runner. It does halt to an unexpected stop half the time when I turn down the speed dial on the Bachmann controller. I might have to look at that. Maybe I might have to clean it, but for now, I'm not going to touch this engine. It runs pretty well. Lights work and everything. And yeah, I'm going to keep this engine DC just because I'm going to keep it for my brother. So yeah. Alright, so this locomotive right here, I actually hardly mentioned on my channel. It's been in a couple of videos in the past of mine, but I've rarely mentioned it on this channel like a few times, and I never did a review on this engine. This right here is an old Bachmann U36B. I believe it was from like the 1970s, because I looked it up, and I think it was around like 76 or 77 Bachmann had built and made these. But yeah, here's the locomotive. It's chassis, C&O chassis. I really like the chassis system. My dad kind of got me into that because he grew up around the chassis system. There's the inside of the engine. Not much I can talk about. I wanted to put this engine. I want to get this engine fitted with DCC and sound like really badly, but because it's an old engine, that's going to be kind of hard to do. Let me talk about the shell first. I didn't mean to drop it, but yeah, there's a crack on the hood. Not too concerned about that. Tried to super glue it, but it didn't really work. And a little Easter egg also, by the way. If you look carefully at the number boards, you might have to pause that, but if you look carefully at the see-through number boards, they actually say 1976, because Bachmann made a bicentennial U36B, I believe, back in the 70s. And what they did, they just basically made a bunch of shells of the copy of the engine or whatever, and just painted over different paint schemes. Pretty sure it was a bicentennial engine. I'm pretty sure, if I remember. Yeah, there's the engine. It has 5. Well, it was supposed to have 5 bells. It only has 4. One broke off. I'm guessing that's probably an RS5T, but who knows. I actually like the shell. It's a really nice design. This engine is old, like I said. And actually, one unique thing about this engine, it has two lights. Now, usually most locomotives don't have 2 lights. I think the old Bachmann engines did. I'm going to remove the plate, and there's like a piece of metal right here, or weight, whatever you're going to call it. And here's the motor. This engine originally did run. It ran pretty smooth, but it was really slow. The lights were really bright, by the way, because I had powered on them to full max power, and this engine was running really slow. So recently I tried taking it apart. When I put it back together, I lubricated it and greased up the gears and the worms right here, all that stuff. And then I took apart the motor to clean the commutator. But when I try to put it back in, I'm hoping that the components on this thing are put on right. I looked it up, and I found a shot, somebody's video, I can't remember. I think it was SMT's. It might have been somebody else. But because he worked on an engine like this before, and props to him again for his great restoration videos on old locomotives. I was able to find one with a Bachmann. Yeah, it was SMT. But I found one of his old videos when he worked on a motor like this, and I found a good shot of when he was showing this type of engine. It looked like the best I can. I'm still not sure if I have that on right, but either way, I'm pretty sure I do. And I put it back together, and the engine does not run, but the lights still work. So I don't know if I missed a spot to clean, or something's not getting something's not getting any continuity or what, but I really wanted to get this engine running, but so far it doesn't run, so it's kind of still in the shop. Other than that, I really like this engine. I want to get it running super badly. And by the way, before I end this clip of the video, right here for this shot, this engine has a fuel tank. It's just on the workshop, on the workbench, and yeah. Next on the roster is an Lifelike F7A, and it's also a C&O chassis engine. You obviously can tell. What's wrong with this engine? Well, there was nothing wrong with the engine when I first got off of eBay. This is another one I got off of eBay back, I think, in 2016, which is when I got the U36B as well. I got those together. Well, I got them together, but from a different buyer. But, you know. But anyway, so this engine did originally run. It ran pretty good. Only issue is it had poor traction tires, and obviously I stripped all the traction tires off. And there wasn't nothing I could do about it back then, because I didn't have spare traction tires or anything like that, or any replaceable traction tires, because I was still living with my dad, and I was not close to any hobby shops that were in my area at that time. So obviously this thing is kind of gutted, but the fuel tank was a gigantic weight, which was in the middle right here. It's on the workbench, and obviously, it still has Hornet couplers on it. This engine did have a Hornet coupler on the front, but I took it off just because I didn't really like it. Right here in the gap, in this little gap right here, there's a chassis logo on the front. This engine has 2 lights, which I don't think chassis actually had. I don't think they actually had F7s. I'm pretty sure they did though. There's not like any plastic boards or whatever you want to call that. I don't know what the parts for that is to cover up the windows and stuff, but I'm not too concerned about that. One I want to talk about is when I actually was thinking about cleaning this engine. But however, this is how Lifelike built this engine's motor, or this locomotive's motor. Excuse me. It's really complex and confusing. I don't know how to take it off. I figured there was a couple screws I unscrewed. There was a way I had to pull out. I just tried to put it back in. This is magnetic too, by the way. And here's the commutator and this is 3-pole. This is a 3-pole motor, I'm pretty sure. I tried pulling this thing out, but I don't know how you get this thing out because I have never found a video on anybody working on this type of motor. And because of this, I ended up ripping 2 wires out. I don't know if you could tell, but here's one of the wires, and the other one is that yellow wire right there. And what that was, the wires that got stripped off from the solder, it was poorly soldered, by the way. It was the lights and a portion of the connection to the power of the locomotives in these trucks right here. So obviously this engine is kind of out of service at the moment, but it really doesn't matter though. I'm not going to resolder them back on because what I was originally planned was I'm going to put a Walther's mainline or maybe a Proto 1000 or Proto 2000 chassis underneath this shell. And then I'm going to have it DCC equipped with sound. So, good plans with this engine with this shell at least in the future. So, as of for now, because at the point where after I stopped running it, I just took the motor in the other truck out and just left it alone. So, but yeah, not much I can do about this. Not much I'm going to talk about this engine. This engine obviously is out of service at the moment. Alright, next locomotive on my roster is my Walther's Trainline CSX GP9M number 890. Now, this engine is obviously a fantasy locomotive because CSX never had GP9s. I always wanted this locomotive back in the day, and like a couple years ago is what I meant, but I finally got it. I got this off of modeltrainstuff.com. It was like for $46. It was on sale. It's right now it's a DC engine, but I want to put DCC in it, and maybe sound. It runs really good. Only thing I had to change on it was the couplers. It had originally like the Bachmann Mark I couplers or the plastic couplers. I updated them with KDs. Not much I can say about this engine. Other than that, it's a really smooth runner. Alright, so the next locomotive on my roster is my Lifelike BN F40PH number 9987. Now, again, this is another one of those fantasy scheme locomotives because BN never had F40PHs. As many foamers would consider this as a cursed model, it's actually not that bad considering that it's a good resemblance of the paint scheme that they use on the E8s and E9s, as the F40 is also a passenger unit. Really good. It's a decent runner. It doesn't run that well, honestly. I cleaned it and everything, cleaned the wheels because they were really oxidized. It barely runs, but I replaced the couplers from horn hooks with plastic Bachmann couplers temporarily until I get KDs. But then again, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep updating this thing. Didn't need to replace the traction tires. They were still good on this engine. And this engine that has a light in it, but it doesn't burn. It's been burnt out ever since I got it. I got this one off eBay back in like 2016, I believe, for like $20 as well. It does not run. I will show you guys real fast, actually. Let me just put this on here. And so yeah, I'm gonna show you guys how well this thing runs. Apparently, I have to move it a bit. I cleaned it. I got to the commutator and cleaned this engine as well, and it was kind of not shiny, but I was able to get it shiny again once I cleaned this sucker. And this is on full speed too, by the way. And yeah, that's the best I can get it to run. And by the way, this engine really hates Code 83 switches, and that's because the flanges on this locomotive are way too wide. Not really good. So if I want to keep restoring this engine, keep it, I might replace the wheels. But as of for now, I'm actually considering about getting rid of this engine. I'm not really too sure yet. If I do keep it, I'm definitely not putting DCC in this thing. I'm just going to keep it as DC because there's not much I can do with it. Now, many people that go to K10s, you may also recognize this engine, as this is another one of my engines that run at K10s. It is a DCC fitted engine. It's a Bachmann GP40. Technically, the real thing is a GP40-2, but this is a Bachmann GP40 CSX number 4451. Really nice engine. Bachmann did a really good job with this engine. This is one of my best runners out of the whole collection of my HO scale locomotives. It's got Mark II plastic couplers on it, as you can tell. Not much I'm going to say about this engine. It's a really good runner. Moving on to this big guy right here. Which is my only sound equipped DCC locomotive I have on my roster at the moment. Is a Broadway Limited CSX AC6000 number 633. Now the real thing of this engine is retired. It's now owned by Progress Rail. But man, I freaking love this engine. I really do. Like, the AC6000 is one of my favorite GE locomotives. I guess it's just the way how it's built. And also I want to mention, I think I already mentioned this earlier when I went through this, because we're basically at this point in the video where we're getting to the locomotives I already talked about that have not been shown on any previous video ever. These are some of the newer engines I've gotten over time. But this engine has a smoke machine inside of this. It's inside here. I think I already showed it earlier, but you just pull one of these smokestacks out and you just pour the fluid in. Underneath the radiator is the pull this out right here, is the switch to the smoke machine. I may get some. I have a little tube that came with the box. This thing right here for the smoke fluid to go in. Pretty useful. But yeah, once we get some smoke fluid, it'd be nice to see this engine with the smoke coming out of the stack now. Also, I run this engine at K10s a lot too, by the way. You may recognize this engine as well. Now, next engine on my roster is obviously an engine I already talked about. Like every engine from this point on after the AC6000 that I've already mentioned this, so I'm going to try to go through it briefly. Is the Tyco SD24 B&O chassis. Like I said earlier, the guy that I bought this out of, he said this was from like 1987, I believe. Originally, I thought this was a GP9, not GP9, SD9, because I was wanting to get an SD9, and I kind of overlooked it. But oh well, it's still a nice engine. And like I said before, I cleaned it up and everything, and it runs really well. Other than that, that's all I can say. Unfortunately, this is not a power torque engine, because I heard power torque Tycos are pretty good. But I might get this thing DCC fit. I'm not gonna put. I may or may not put sound in it, because I know I heard it's hard to put DCC in these older locomotives, besides the Atherms, because the Atherms are pretty good. I heard they're pretty easy to put DCC in, specifically the Blue Box series. But yeah, that's all I can say about this engine. Next engine on my roster, like I already talked about before, is my Lifelike Proto 2000 CSX SG60 number 8700. This engine was just retired off the roster in CSX pretty recently. Well, actually, it was retired a year or so ago. I mean, I think it might have been reactivated in service, but then it was retired again. But I'm not really too sure. All I know is that this engine is now retired, but a really, really nice Proto 2000 engine right here. Definitely going to put sound in this engine when I get the chance. It is DCC equipped. I put a DCC decoder in this engine, and that's all I'm going to say. Cause this engine is it's a really nice smooth runner, by the way, too. One other thing to mention, by the way, when I bought this engine, the front handrails you see here are messed up. This one was messed up, and it was kind of already like that. This one right here keeps coming out of place. I keep putting it back in. I might just have to dap it up with some super glue. But either way, also, when I ran at the K10 for the first time, I had a little side swipe collision with another engine just coming out of the yard after setting up my train. But it was totally nobody's fault, because me and the other person that I ran the train to did not see our trains, because it happened underneath one of the stairways. The couplers, they've been added on there as well, because when I originally bought this engine, it was regular DC, and also there were no couplers on this engine. So I bought some KDs and put them on this locomotive, and boy, this engine runs really well. Now on to the final two locomotives on the roster. Well, I'm going to exclude this one because this one's a dummy, but both of these are Lifelike GP38-2 high hoods. Now, this is kind of fantasy scheme, I guess. Well, I probably not, though, but whatever you're going to call it. But the number for this engine, as I mentioned earlier, is not the actual number to this actual BN engine. It was actually an SD40 that had this number. It was an actual GP38 that had this number, but it was not a high hood. Both BN didn't have GP38 high hoods. I mean, this is a really nice model. Lifelike did a really good job. The fan grills are kind of see-through as well, but nothing special about those. Both of these engines are pretty new, like as in serviceable wise. because my dad got these off of eBay as a Christmas gift, and the owner he got these from have rarely ran these things. So really, this is like the second time. When I first pulled out the thing and test ran it, but it's probably like the second time these engines ever ran, because the guy originally only, I think, ran them once ever, and that was it. But nothing's broken on these things. It's a really nice engine. Everything's clean, like perfect condition. Besides the wheels, they're starting to oxidize, but they probably need to be cleaned up in the far future from now. But yeah, that's it for this engine. So that is it of my current HO scale locomotive roster. Or is it? What's this right here? Well, this is a pretty new locomotive I got. It's not really actually new, but it's new to the roster. I got this at K10s for only $5. I can't believe this deal. And the engine I got, that's it right there. But we're not going to go into detail about it. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot to mention this. If you guys want to see a review on this engine, comment below, and I will do that review. So thank you guys for watching this long and overdue update video. I'm sorry it took forever. I just had to talk about everything that I needed to cover, and also my apologies for how I was talking in this video. This video was unscripted, so I was being a stutter bug, and I was having trouble comprehending all the stuff I needed to talk about. And yeah, if you wanted to see any of the stuff I mentioned earlier, comment below, and I might do a review on this stuff. And then if you go to K10s, keep a lookout for me and stuff. As of for now, the layout's kind of on hold at the moment because I'm kind of trying to save up to get my laptop fixed. And there's been some slow progress on the layout. Yeah, that's all I can say. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Check out some of my recent videos I just uploaded. I uploaded a couple videos from K10 from the past few months or so, and also check out any previous Railfan video of mine, and just check out all the old videos I got on my channel, because the channel is basically dead at this point. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and take care. That's the wrong way, but you know, whatever. It's been a long update video. Have fun, guys. Take care.